I'm Holly Amaya. I'm here with Anne-Marie Hoftailing. We are co-founders of Story Imprinting, and we're here to talk today about how to interview someone on video where you can actually get some good answers that actually mean something and are not just a rote recitation of some stuff that nobody wants to hear about. So Anne-Marie, why is that important in a corporate context? Like, why do you need to get good video?
So we get calls all of the time because somebody hired a videographer or somebody had somebody internally take a video, and what they did is they pointed a camera at somebody and they said, okay, talk about this or tell us about this. And the problem is they don't understand what we call dramaturgical questions. These questions that are open-ended questions that get deeper, deeper, deeper into the story and that kind of breadcrumb it out. And I think that what happens is most people can't just organically and authentically tell their story instantaneously when a video camera is pointed in their face. And I would argue it actually makes it infinitely more difficult when that happens.
I would agree.
Yes, coming from a media background. So I think it's important because we're doing more video. I mean, we're sitting on this couch doing video right now. It's incredibly important, but understand it's not enough to just ask somebody to share a story. You have to have somebody who's relatively competent at asking critical questions to pull that story out and frame it.
What kinds of questions are we talking about? Like, what are some critical areas to hit? And I understand that obviously this is going to be different, depending on the context, but what kinds of things should we be thinking about as we go through that process?
So one thing that I think is really useful, Ira Glass has a fantastic series on YouTube about the anecdote. And he talks about the anecdote being the most stripped down, simple form of storytelling. It is, and I have some argument with whether that is a story or not, but I do think it's really useful about what happened next and then what happened. And this idea of pulling people through so they're not speaking from a really sort of storytelling-based prose or writer-based prose where they're filling in all these gaps that somebody doesn't understand. The details matter. How did you get from here to there? What happened next?
What did that look like?
What did that look like? And the other thing is questions that I can't say enough about this that raise the stakes. When did you feel lost? When were you struggling? How did you overcome a major failure? Those are what I call like high stakes questions that I think get at a story versus just somebody reciting their resume, which is what I think is really, really, really common in video. And it's just not interesting to watch. Nobody cares.
Or like taking a deposition. I've seen a lot of videos. I'm also a lawyer, so I've taken depositions, and it's like I've seen a lot of video that just seems like somebody went in with like a list of questions and they're there just to get answers and they're not listening. I mean, this is a huge part of it, right? Good reporting, and by the way, if you're in a PR or a marketing capacity within a company and you're doing videos, I'm assuming that's probably part of your job, you should absolutely think of yourself as a reporter and a fact finder, right? That is the mentality that you should go into every video with. Like, I'm going to get the narrative. I want to know what happened, when, what, where, how. What did it smell like? What did it look like? What are all of these details where you're painting a picture? NPR, by the way, does a great job of this.
Terry Gross,
delicious.
Number one. If you want to learn how to be a really good interviewer, I totally agree with you. Fresh Air, she does a great job of, she has guests on that I think, I have no interest in that whatsoever. I don't care what this person's talking about. And when you listen to her, she has such a way of listening so intimately and carefully. And that, to your point, I do think really good questions are also about really excellent listening.
Right, because the answers might take you. That's the other thing. Like, I might ask a question of you and you give me an answer. It doesn't matter if I have a list of questions that I wanted to ask. If you gave me some really interesting nugget, I might ask a follow-up question that takes us over here, that takes us over here. And then we're in a totally different place than I imagined we would be, but we probably have a really great story as a result. So all of this is incredibly important. You really want to get yourself into a mindset of being a finder of fact, of being a reporter, of being a thoughtful listener. And with that, we will see you next time.